Virgo, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for August 29th through the 4th of September, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Virgos this week, very important in the astrology. We've got a solar eclipse taking place as well as your ruler Mercury going retrograde in your first house. So let's talk about this solar eclipse. It's happening September 1st on Thursday. A very important event here. It all has to do with the life path. You guys have been hearing me talk about the North Node shifting into your 12th house. And this is where the eclipses take place. So the 12th house, it's the house of spirituality. It's the house of finding peace in our lives, tranquility, which isn't easy. You know, the 12th house being the end of the wheel of the birth chart is about relinquishing all of the material world, basically, and connecting to the now moment, connecting to really acceptance at the end of the day, having acceptance in our life, both of ourselves, our relationships, if it's manifesting like that, and perhaps most importantly, our life experiences. You know, so it's through that acceptance that we find peace, we find tranquility. But sometimes it invokes some deep traumas, some deep fears, you know, all this stuff in the deeper layers of ourselves psychologically and spiritually. So with that in mind, this solar eclipse is very powerful, and this is going to be a new beginning now for you for the next coming weeks and coming months of cultivating this peace, this greater connection to yourself spiritually. So it makes it an excellent time, like I've been talking about, the North Node in the 12th house, to maybe get that alone time, maybe meditating, maybe doing things like yoga, or pretty much anything that helps you get into a meditative state, you know, which isn't always meditation. It could be running, it could be cleaning, it could be all sorts of things, but it's really about connecting to that. And as a result, the more acceptance essentially you're developing, more of the spiritual development, if you will, you are getting, you know, more in touch with the essence of life. So this is really, too, what I consider the true happiness part of the chart. It's not the fleeting kind of happiness. It's the kind that is accessed through presence, through meditation, through actually having that peace and tranquility. So great to set any new intentions this week, particularly around Thursday and onward, actually. And as we approach it, it is good to have this sort of, this clean slate, to let the energies die down, because we'll be in the balsamic phase as we approach the solar eclipse. Maybe get some of that R&R or whatever it is. Allow energies to die down, and then from Thursday onward to start to see how it's unfolding and to maybe set some new intentions with this. Could be, spiritual development, personal development, however you want to, work with this energy, or however it's working for you. So with that in mind, this solar eclipse is going to be very collectively challenging. It's going to be forming a T-square with Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so what I always say with these kinds of aspects is to challenge ourselves, right? It's challenging, but it doesn't have to be suffering, right? And this type of T-square can be very constructive. So the way to challenge ourselves here with Saturn in the third house has been this year for you to get serious about things like communication, things like, the practical side to life. Maybe it's reading, writing, anything you can take seriously that is a form of communication, to get the communication area of your life nice and stable, nice and grounded, as well as your mind. Third house is essentially our left side of the brain, if you will. It's our practical perspective of things and how we see things on that everyday level. So taking that seriously too, again, maybe through doing some of that studying or something to really establish good mental discipline. And could even be too, if you felt like you want to challenge yourself with getting involved in social things or connecting with your peers or some of you siblings perhaps, taking that stuff seriously also. So the square, though, is suggesting to challenge yourself both with, again, the mind, the communication, the insights, the perspective, but also with your spiritual development, right? Squaring up to that solar eclipse. How can you challenge yourself here? Usually with the square, it's not easy. It can be uncomfortable to take action, to do things, to move things forward. And this is, again, spiritual, so it's more receptive for you. But it's about discipline. We can't have spiritual development without discipline. The best spiritual gurus or whatnot you'll see, or anyone who's spiritually developed, it takes work, it takes discipline, it takes all of that personal development. So with that, this is also emphasizing the Neptune who's in your 6th house. And this is more of the house of your everyday routine, that kind of personal development. So it's suggesting that perhaps there's uncertainty about the everyday things. Maybe it's about your work. Maybe it's about basically anything you're doing on an everyday level. But with Neptune, it's about, again, just like the 12th house, acceptance. And really, Neptune being associated with the 12th is suggesting that it's through your everyday experiences, it's through your routine, it's through your work that you are cultivating this peace, or can be cultivating this peace, right? This spiritual development, this acceptance in your life. Now with the South Node, who's been getting increasingly closer to Neptune, is suggesting that maybe there's some old patterns here that have to do with the everyday sphere of things, with perfection or organization or having things figured out. So if you feel like there's an extreme relating to that South Node in the 6th, that is wanting things to be perfected or understood or organized, but it seems like it's a bit much, then it's about first the awareness of it, which is really that step, and then the acceptance of them, that we have these things. Because the South Node is like past energy, past lives, past karmic things that we're holding on to, we're yearning for. We want that, in this case, maybe perfection or organization in our lives. But as we let go, as we detach, especially with Neptune, living in the present moment and accepting these things, or these everyday experiences as best as we can, allows them to go. And it's not pushing them away as much as they're just naturally going. And in that fashion, by releasing all of these extremes with the 6th house, we come back into a state of balance. And it's from that state of balance, we have this foundation to then move into what is this spiritual development. And this is really a great place for you to consciously orient yourself, especially right now with the solar eclipse, is towards developing yourself spiritually, but it might require some of this releasing of old patterns in the everyday sense, or about the everyday things such as work, routine, etc. All right, so that's the solar eclipse, very powerful. We also do have Mercury going retrograde, very important for you Virgos, being your ruler. Mercury has recently shifted into your 1st house. Jupiter's recently shifted into here, as well as Venus. So there are potentials, there's possibilities here to expand your horizons, maybe to get more independent in your life, which is great, really, for the next year and a half. But with Mercury retrograde, it's good to now rethink some of these things. He's going to go retrograde on Tuesday. So especially around Tuesday, just sort of pausing here for a minute with anything that maybe you've been working on. Some desires, some goals, maybe things having to do with physical energy. Just kind of pausing because you're going into this reflection, as you often do, about 3 times a year. So now rethinking, re-examining yourself, your goals, where you're headed and all this, and being as malleable and flexible in the process as you possibly can. And I think you'll learn a lot about yourself, and could be rehashing these goals and needs of yours, and even independence in your life throughout these next few weeks, so that they're much more in balance. So with that being said, Mercury is going to conjoin Venus at the beginning on Monday. And this is emphasizing that you got Venus in your 1st house. You could be looking good, feeling good. There's a bit of maybe relationships that are being accentuated, or just your one-to-one connections are being accentuated at the moment with Venus in the 1st house. So that's good. At the beginning of the week, maybe learning something new about your values, about yourself, and those things you enjoy there. Then at the end of the week, Mercury is going to go retrograde over Jupiter. So it'll be about Thursday, I believe. Yeah, or actually Friday going into the weekend. This bit of buoyancy with your ruler over Jupiter. Maybe you're seeing these potentials, these possibilities about yourself, about your independence, and these things that you could be pursuing at the moment. So good there. Maybe you're seeing the potentials. They could be reworked, rethought, and again, rehashed during this retrograde period. And it's always good with your ruler retrograde to just approach all areas of life with that sense of willingness to learn and try new things, and really be adaptive and flexible, and bring extra attention to your routine as well. Make sure you're crossing those T's, dotting those I's with anything you're involved with, because sometimes we can be on a sort of autopilot with Mercury retrograde. All right, so those are the two most eventful things this week. It's a very important week. Solar eclipse in your 12th house, new beginnings with your life path to cultivate peace and what I consider true happiness in life by allowing to let go any old patterns here having to do with the everyday sphere of things, or maybe even ideals about them that you can allow to let go. All while challenging yourself with Saturn, with the here everyday immediate things, with patience, with your communication, discipline, working on that, working on your mind, establishing your intelligence, your practical skills can be great. And this is the square naturally with this piece, is that we have to learn how to work with the mind. We have to observe the mind and have mental discipline, right? So I think that's a good way of working with that. Then, of course, Mercury retrograde, rethinking things, rehashing, especially relating to you, your goals, where you're headed, although there's certainly potentials and possibilities unfolding for the next year and a half with Jupiter in your first house. All right, so Virgos, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.